African market, Anthony Manning, 1988, 30-31, identified 8 challenges that face South African business. These include the following. Rapidly increasing competition from new and unexpected sources, changing demographics and psychographics. New technology. The new global economy. The shift from manufacturing to services. The proliferation of corporate stakeholders managing the new workforce. The rapid rise of the green movement. Manning concluded this section with the following statement: these 8 factors pose challenges to every executive. They underpin the process of strategic management. They must therefore be the concern of everyone involved in creating or shaping tomorrow's organizations. Each of these factors continues to grow in importance, and the business community needs to find innovative ways, not only to deal with these challenges, but also to outperform their competition. Strategic management is a theory, and is also a dynamic process and a way of life for successful firms. The former CEO of General Electric Company, GEC, described strategic management as follows. Understanding where the business is at the moment. Having a clear view about where the business wants to be in future. Conducting a wide-scale debate about how it will reach its future destination. This answer seems to be clear enough. Yet, when we study the science of strategic management, it becomes apparent that there are a large number of divergent views regarding how and why we should engage in strategic management. Over the last 50 years or so, various ways of thinking about strategic management have evolved. Mintzberg et al., 1998, 5, identified at least 10 major perspectives on management. The following are examples of such perspectives. Strategy formation is a formal process. It follows a structured plan. Strategy formation is a process of conception. It is about designing the future. Strategy formation is a visionary process. It clarifies what the ideal future should be. Strategy formation is an analytical process. It considers the current realities and makes projections about the future. Strategy formation is a collective endeavor. It involves various stakeholders. Strategy formation is a reactive process. It responds to internal and external environments. Strategy formation is a process of transformation. It requires change. As it is impossible for us to cover all of these perspectives in depth in this course, we have opted instead to examine a model that incorporates several of these perspectives. 1.2 Definition of strategy. The word strategy originates from the Greek word strategia, which can be translated as generalship, Soanes and Stevenson, 2003, 1747, and can be defined as a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall gain, Soanes and Stevenson, 2003, 1747. The following list of related terms and their definitions expand on the essence of strategy. Term. Definition. Stratagem. A plan or scheme, especially one used to outwit an opponent or achieve an end. Strategic. Relating to the identification of long-term or overall aims and interests, and the means of achieving them. Relating to the gaining of overall, long-term military advantage. Strategize. An action or actions, to devise a strategy or strategies. Strategist. A person skilled in planning action or policy, especially in war and politics. Source, Soanes and Stevenson, 2003, 1747. Table 1.1, Words related to strategy. From the above, one can see that the word strategy refers to warfare. In the context of business management, strategy could thus be viewed as a special type of corporate or business warfare between a company and its rivals. That is why Thompson et al., 2005, 3, make the following statements about strategy. A company's strategy is made up of a series of competitive actions. These actions are designed to attract and satisfy customers, compete to succeed, grow the business, conduct long-term and sustainable business operations, and achieve targets and goals. Rosso et al., 2007, 3, say the following about strategy. Strategy as generalship refers to the art of generals. This means that strategy is used to overpower rivals. Strategy is about a plan of action to achieve goals, despite constant changes in the competitive environment. Since at least 1967, when Liddell Hart defined strategy as a plan that maps out a proposed course of battle, writers in management science have been building on the same idea by showing that strategy is about formulating a set of specific, long-term objectives for an organization. Consider the following. Table 1.2, Different Views on Strategy. It is clear that there are many different views about what strategy is. Regardless of which definition one embraces, managers should bear in mind that strategy is a way a business gets from where it is to where it wants to be. Marco Hughes, 2014, 184. 1.3 Definition of management. The next question to consider is, what is management? Van Nieuwenhuizen and Duke, 2014, 2, suggest that management encompasses the following. Leading, overseeing, and mentoring. Assuming responsibility for and the control of an organization. Ensuring that resources are allocated correctly to create products or deliver services. Ensuring that the business runs profitably and sustainably. Devise actions that will achieve the maximum results, with the least possible waste. 1.4 Definition of strategic management. Strategic management encompasses the definition elements of both strategy and management. The following definitions provide us with insight on what strategic management entails. The first definition is by Lynch, 2009, 5. Strategic management can be described as the identification of the purpose of the organization and the plans and actions to achieve that purpose. On one hand, this definition takes a broad view and approaches strategy from the point of determining the overall purpose of the organization. Purpose can be clarified by asking the following question. Why do we exist and what do we want to contribute to society? On the other hand, strategic management is also about the plans and actions that are taken and that will enable an organization to realize their purpose. The second definition is from Thompson et al., 2005, 3. Strategy is the game plan indicating the choices a manager needs to make, for example how to attract and meet customer needs, how to compete successfully, how to grow the organization, how to manage the organizational architecture and develop dynamic capabilities, how to achieve performance targets by implementing strategies successfully. Introduction to strategic management. This definition highlights various aspects of the strategic management process. It also takes into account that organizations have to make choices and prioritize activities. At the core of strategic management lie the following key questions. How will we be able to grow turnover? How will we outperform our competition? How will we continually adapt to an ever-changing environment? 1.4.1 The language of strategy. As we proceed with this course, we will use vocabulary that is relevant to the strategic management process. As a student in the field, it will assist you greatly if you master this terminology at the outset. Term. Description. Strategic management. The art and science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional actions that will enable an organization to achieve its objectives. Cross-functional means across all functions of an organization. Vision or strategic intent. Desired future state, the aspirations of the organization. Mission. The overriding purpose of the organization, e.g., to constantly. Goal. Innovate. Goal. A specific aim that the organization wants to achieve, e.g. to. Objective. Retain more customers or to provide better service. Unique resources or core competencies. The unique resources, processes or skills that provide organization with a competitive advantage. Competitive advantage. The edge that an organization has over others. Strategies. The planned actions that an organization implements in order to outperform its rivals and achieve long-term objectives. Strategic control. The monitoring of strategies as they are implemented, in order to ensure that they are effective and achieve the objectives. It also involves the process of modifying and reviewing strategies if they are not achieving the intended results. Mintzberg et al., 1998, summarized the key aspects of strategic planning by identifying the 5 Ps of strategy. Plan management plans how to attain outcomes that will realize the organization's goals and objectives. Pattern is strategy develops a consistent pattern of consistent behavior over time. Position seeks to position the business within the marketplace. Perspective, the company's unique way of doing things in order to remain competitive. Ploy, an action or maneuver which is intended to outwit the competition. 1.5 Understanding competitive advantage. In 1985, Michael Porter shook up management theories with his book Competitive Advantage, in which he described what companies need to do in order to become a recognized force in their respective industries. For Porter, competitive advantage lies in the ability of an organization to differentiate itself from all the others. Porter identified 8 factors that a company must attend to in order to establish and maintain differentiation in the marketplace. Time, execution, maneuverability, knowledge, value, process, cost, differentiation. 1.5.1 Time. Time addresses the need for organizations to balance swift action with cautious action. When confronted with an opportunity, companies should take time to evaluate the opportunity and consider it from all possible angles. Costs and benefits of an opportunity should be swiftly and efficiently evaluated in order to present an offering timelessly to the market. Evaluating opportunities is a fine balancing act. On one hand, cutting corners and over-hasty decisions can have dramatic consequences, but on the other hand, analysis paralysis needs to be avoided. There comes a point in the evaluation of opportunities when all pros and cons have been considered, weighed up and exhausted. It is at this point that organizations should decide to either seize the opportunity or move on. It is a good principle that when deciding to pursue an opportunity, companies should follow the way of the tortoise, i.e., they need to move both rapidly and cautiously. Example 1a. In the latter half of 2015, the Volkswagen company was exposed as having manipulated statistics regarding the emissions of their vehicles. Because meeting the rigorous emissions control standards that are stipulated by some countries is costly and time-consuming, the company feared losing market share, and consequently manipulated onboard computers in the test vehicles to show lower CO2 emission readings when the vehicle was in test mode. For a while, the manipulation of test data provided Volkswagen with proof that their vehicles met the rigorous standards, without increasing the vehicle's selling price. When the scandal broke, Volkswagen's reputation was severely damaged. This resulted in diminished market confidence, and they were saddled with heavy fines that had an impact on their profitability. This example illustrates that cutting corners to save time is highly detrimental. Example 1b. In 2006, a large local bank had the opportunity to partner with the biggest credit card brand in Asia, a brand which represented $5.6 trillion in transactional value. It was projected that transactions to the value of around 75 to 100 million rand would be executed in a specified country in which the Asian bank wanted to establish a footprint. The local bank realized that working with the Asian bank would generate significant profits in terms of transaction fees. Accordingly, the local bank decided to start a strategic project. However, when the project was ready for implementation, the local bank hesitated for more than a year. The Asian bank lost patience, withdrew their offer and approached another local bank that wanted to partner with them. 6 months later, the new partnership was realized and the local bank profited greatly. This example illustrates that ruminating and turning the coin over for too long can result in missed opportunities. In addition to the above examples, time can also be a competitive advantage when the time frame of a company's processes are minimized, thereby reducing the amount of time that customers need to wait. 1.5.2 Execution. Execution refers to how, and how well, a company does things. Regarding efficiency in business, a company has 4 options when executing a task. The company can do the wrong things wrong. The company can do the wrong things right. A company can do the right things wrong. A company can do the right things right. Doing the right things right is challenging, but companies need to develop practices that ensure that they are not only better than their competitors in what they do, but also in how they do it. This is the essence of execution, also in and attending to how things are done will improve what things are done. 1.5.3 Maneuverability. Maneuverability refers to how quickly and how effectively a company reacts to changing circumstances. These changes could be internal, within the organization, or external, outside the organization. This is especially relevant in instances where a company realizes that their existing strategy is not producing the results they hoped for. Sometimes the market's preference for goods and services changes. They could reject the old and trusted in favor of the new and exciting. Reshaping offerings to accommodate the needs of a changing market in a timeless way can ensure that a company outperforms a competitor. New markets can suddenly open as trade barriers shift. A competitive company will find a way to customize their products and services to suit the needs and preferences of the new market. An established market could go into decline over a long period. An astute strategic manager is able to detect the signs of decline and will start to consider how to reinvent in an existing product or service. In this way, producing new alternatives when an existing product or service is in decline can provide an advantage over competitors. 1.5.4 Knowledge. From the viewpoint of strategic management, or from the viewpoint of competitive advantage, knowledge does not refer to how many degrees the CEO or the employees have. Instead, when one speaks of knowledge as a competitive advantage, it refers to the knowledge that everyone in the company has regarding the products and services on offer. The ability to find the right answers at the right time. Knowing where to find the best possible solution or resources at any given time. Knowing how to handle situations. Understanding the implications of changes in the competitive environment. Identifying strengths and weaknesses. Understanding and exploiting a competitor's weaknesses, and responding to a competitor's strengths. 1.5.5 Value. Value refers to the customer's perception of a company's goods and services. A customer who believes that a specific product or service is valuable to them will remain loyal to that product or service for as long as the value perception remains high. Building a competitive advantage based on value means that a company should consider one or more of the following points. Making access to services and products easier and more convenient for the market. Offering different product mixes to accommodate diverse markets. Adding additional services and products to an offering to provide clients with more options and flexibility. Adding additional services and products without creating a feeling of junk selling in the mind of the client. Making sure that the service or product that the client receives justifies the price. Little things and finer details are sometimes valued more than showy big things. 1.5.6 Process. In 1993, Hammer and Champy wrote their book Re-Engineering the Corporation, a manifesto for business revolution. Here, they note that many companies struggle because they are not willing or able to seriously reconsider their processes, or the way in which they do business. Between 1989 and 1993, Humphrey introduced the Capability Maturity Model. This model was conceived as a tool to improve software projects, but it soon spilled over into the domain of business management. There is significant similarity between the views of Hammer and Champy and Humphrey. Strategic managers should consider the following regarding processes. Processes are not monolithic. Just as circumstances in a business change, so too must processes adapt to new situations. Processes need to be usable in a crisis. Humphrey believed a process that cannot be used in a crisis should not be used at all. Processes are not immune from scrutiny and even radical redesign, and processes must be consistent, repeatable, and reliable. A competitive company is one that understands the necessity of regular review and redesign of processes. This does not mean that process re-engineering must happen for any and every reason. The old adage of if it is not broken, do not fix it applies. Often, companies are saddled with processes that are outdated and irrelevant to current circumstances. Inevitably, such companies will be unable to maintain their competitive advantage as far as their processes are concerned. 1.5.7 Cost. Regardless of the prevailing financial climate, businesses have to constantly monitor costs. A focus on costs needs to be constant in the mind of the strategic manager. As a competitive advantage, cost has two important dimensions. Internally, the competitive company monitors spending patterns carefully and makes sure that there is a return on every penny spent. Externally, cost relates to the price a company charges for goods and services. It also relates to the market's perception about the price being charged relative to its value. The market needs to feel that the service or product they are purchasing justifies the price being paid. Example 1c. Low cost is not always indicative of a competitive advantage. Consider the case of ATQ Technologies. This company imported information technology, IT, components from China for the local market. When ATQ started to sell these components to the local market, they priced the components at approximately 7% lower than their closest competitor. At the time, ATQ paid 20 monetary units per component and they sold each items at 35 monetary units per component. As there was a big demand for the components, some of the large local telecommunications companies bought the product at 35 monetary units per component. 6 months later, the Chinese supplier increased the price of the components to 30 monetary units per component. ATQ's profit margins therefore came under pressure as they were contractually bound to sell at 35 monetary units per component. A further 6 months later, the Chinese supplier increased the price to 33 monetary units per component and ATQ's customers held them to the previously agreed price of 35 monetary units per component. ATQ consequently learned that cheap is not always best. Regarding cost and pricing, a competitive company should ensure 3 things. That it does not put profit margins under pressure. That it does not create a situation where cost price can rise higher than the selling price. That it constructs a costing and pricing model that can be sustained over a long period of time. 1.5.8 Differentiation. Differentiation is one of the least understood dimensions of competitive advantage. In basic terms, it means that if my competitor makes a widget in blue, I will make the widget in red. However, differentiation means more than simply the difference in products, it also entails the following. Making it very hard or expensive for competitors to copy a product or service. Improving the quality of products and services without increasing their cost. Adding functions or features without increasing costs. Combining products and services in such a way that they are useful to the market, without increasing cost. Making sure that the delivery of products or services is superior to that of competitors. It is not always possible to focus on all 8 dimensions of competitive advantage. Time and resources do not always allow for this. Often, companies choose a limited number of dimensions and focus on mastering these. In this way, they prioritize those dimensions that they feel will give them the greatest competitive advantage. 1.6 The importance of strategy. Strategy is a particular form of long-term planning. It considers internal and external factors, and then chooses a direction based on the information gleaned from analyzing the internal and external environments. As an essential action plan, strategy forces an organization to ask the following fundamental questions. 1. Where did we come from? Introduction to strategic management. 2. Where are we now? 3. Where do we want to go to? 4. How do we get to our desired future? We sometimes refer to the above 4 questions as the strategy diamond. Figure 1.1, the strategy diamond. 1.6.1 Understanding the past. An organization's history shapes its current state. Past decisions and actions define the way that an organization operates today. Before an organization can plan, design and implement a new strategy, it must first look at its past and ask questions such as these. Where do we come from? What has changed between then and now? What were the factors that caused us to take a specific direction at some point in the past? Why did we take that direction in the past? Would we have done the same had we known then what we know now? What worked in the past? What did not work in the past? Are the actions that we took then still relevant today? 14. By looking at the past, an organization is able to consider possible mistakes that were made and is able to understand the factors that lead to these mistakes. In other words, looking at the past allows organizations to learn valuable lessons. The fundamental purpose of looking at the past is to identify any patterns of behavior that resulted in the past situation that the organization finds itself in at present. 1.6.2 Understanding the present. An organization's present-day situation has been shaped by actions or decisions that occurred in the past. Ideally, the organization evaluates its present actions against its past actions. A template of past actions or past decisions forces the organization to ask, where are we today? Recognize why they do things in a certain way. Recognize what factors brought about specific results, success or failure. Consider which actions, based on the past, should be avoided in future. Consider which actions should be repeated as they still produce desirable outcomes. Consider plans that have not yet been implemented, and consider the reasons why these plans have not yet been implemented. 1.6.3 Understanding the future. Organizations look at the present situation to understand whether they are in a position to exploit opportunities that may arise in the future. Considering the future forces an organization to ask the following questions. Where are we going to? Why do we want to pursue this particular direction? What resources do we need to pursue this direction? What skills or abilities need to be harnessed in order for us to exploit opportunities that are presented? By when do we want to achieve our goals? What are we willing to sacrifice or invest in order to pursue these opportunities? 1.6.4 Understanding the journey. Planning and designing a strategy is also guided by asking the question, how do we get there? A strategy is meaningless unless the organization clarifies specific actions and timelines in order to take advantage of an opportunity. Organizations need to ask questions such as these. Role in organization. Responsibility. Chief Executive Officer, CEO. Identify future direction for the organization. Specify basic vision for the organization. Define the organization's mission. Communicate strategic goals to the organization. Inspire the organization to adopt the organizational strategy. Share the organizational strategy with shareholders and external stakeholders. Chief Financial Officer, CFO. Assist the CEO to specify basic vision for the organization. Assist the CEO to define the organization's mission. Ensure that there is sufficient funding for designing, planning, implementing and sustaining the strategy. Create master financial plans, e.g. cost-benefit analysis for the strategy. Adjust the master budget if required. Create access to funding channels to assist the strategy. Chief Operations Officer, COO. Assist the CEO to specify basic vision for the organization. Assist the CEO to define the organization's mission. Review processes and procedures to streamline the strategy. Redesign and implement revised processes and procedures where necessary in order to support the new strategy. Chief HR Officer. Assist the CEO to specify basic vision for the organization. Assist the CEO to define the organization's mission. Work with executives to identify new roles, capabilities, and skill sets needed to sustain the strategy. Retrain or re-educate staff to work within new strategies. Processes and procedures. Find the right people, at the right price, for new roles that other members of the C-suite. Assist the CEO to specify basic vision for the organization. Assist the CEO to define the organization's mission. Develop goals, budgets, implementation plans, and timelines. To implement the strategy, create channels to report to C-suite members.